He's harmless.
All right, I trust you.
Yeah. I want to welcome everyone to the Learning Clinic on CKLU 96.7 FM. I'm your host, Bob Kirwan, and once again this afternoon we are having a Meet the Candidates radio show. For the next 40-45 minutes, we're going to be talking to Robert McCarthy, who is running for the position of City Councillor in Ward 12 in the October 27th election. Welcome to Laurentian, Rob.
Thank you for having me, Bob. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's not often that we get two people in the studio, both named Robert, or both Geminis, so this is going to be a great show.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it for sure. Robert, let's get right down to it. This show is being aired on 96.7 FM. People can listen to it being streamed live at cklu.ca, but tonight or tomorrow, people will also be able to go to thelearningclinic.ca and probably even to your own Facebook site, and they'll be able to watch an interview of the show. So whatever we talk about, people are going to be able to access later on. But let's get started. You're running in Ward 12. Tell us, just to remind people who are not in Ward 12 listening to this, where exactly is Ward 12? And then let's get into who is Robert McCarthy.
All right, Ward 12 is the Kingsway, Bancroft, east of Rideau Street, north of Elm Street,
Okay.
downtown.
So it encompasses a bit of downtown?
Correct,
too?
yes.
Okay.
West of Berry Down Road and north of LaSalle Boulevard. And like I said, east of Rideau Street
Okay.
on LaSalle.
So actually, it borders. I'm trying to think of the map. I think it borders a bit of Ward 5 as well, doesn't it? I think Ward 5 touches it.
Yes, correct.
Okay. The only reason I know this, I'm very concerned about the Ward 5 area, and the interesting thing is that when you're running for a particular ward, you do touch several, at least one or two other wards around you. So interestingly enough, when a person's running for a particular ward, there's a bit of an overlap, which I'm sure we'll get into later on in the show, but which is why it becomes really incumbent upon councillors to know a little bit about what's going on in the wards around them, and to be able to work with the councillors who happen to be in the wards around them, because if your boundary is on one particular street, and one side is one ward and the other side is another ward, I mean, they have similar issues.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to be concerned.
Absolutely.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. What do you think people should know about you in terms of being a candidate for Ward 12, and introduce us to Robert McCarthy.
Well, my name is Robert McCarthy. I am 26 years old. I was born and raised in Sudbury. I love my community. I am a proud Sudburian, and I decided to get into this because of my passion for the community, and I feel I have what it takes to make Sudbury a better place, not just for me, but for everybody in the ward and across this beautiful city of ours. And yeah, I just I love getting into this, and I am ready to go.
This isn't something that you have just taken lightly because you feel it's the thing to do because of your age, or because, like, you've done some thinking about getting into politics and getting involved in a leadership position like this, haven't you? It isn't just an overnight thing for you.
No, it's not. I've been involved in politics itself for a good 6 years now, and this has been my dream. I'm very passionate about politics, especially for people like myself, youth people. I feel that regardless of what your political beliefs are, it's important for youth to get involved, either directly or indirectly, because it's your future. I feel you should take charge of it. It's your future. Get involved and see what you can do. Everybody can make change if they set themselves to it.
Yeah, and I think one of the, I mean, we're Geminis, but we're definitely born in different years. Anyone watching a video of this will be able to tell. But I take a look at this whole I guess, desire to involve youth and engage youth in local politics and even provincial politics. But I look at this whole desire to involve youth, not just so that you can have young people around the table, but because, so they can become engaged and become aware of what the issues are, whether they're gonna be sitting at council or not, that this is their community, this is where they're growing up, that they should be aware, even if they're not running for council. So it's almost as if, I guess let's ask the question, do you feel that people should vote for you because you're young, or because you've got ideas you can bring to the table? Do you think this should be a youth versus age type of decision that voters should be making? Or do you think that it's more a matter of the ideas that you bring to the table and not necessarily your age?
I don't think age has anything at all to do with it. It's not youth versus
Elderly people, like
experience, more experience, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's not about that at all. It's a matter of whoever the voters think have the best ideas to bring forward to
Right.
make the city and all of the wards better.
I'm glad to hear that, because I've always said that you can get some pretty youthful ideas from some pretty old people. It becomes a matter of not necessarily young or old ideas, it's a different look. It's a different perspective, it's a different view. And so when we take a look at your background, the fact that you've lived here all your life and you are interested in politics and you've been involved in politics, what is it that you can bring to the table, you feel? Besides saying it's a different perspective, what is it that you feel you can do at council that will be different than what is there now? Or what any, not necessarily that you're competing with anybody, but what is it that you feel you can do that you're offering to voters?
Well, I mean, I'm very energetic. I am willing to listen to differing opinions that I might not necessarily agree with. I can work with it. I can work with anybody of a different political viewpoint or thought. I bring I'm 100%. You can always count on me to listen to you, what your views are, and although we may not always agree, I can try to listen to your concerns best I can, and I can work with every councillor and mayor.
And agree to disagree, I guess.
Correct, exactly, agree to disagree.
And I think that, that's a healthy approach, because I don't want to get into too many of my projections here, but I don't think a person sitting on a city council can basically hold on to a position in light of changing circumstances. And I think that may be one of the areas that differs between municipal politics and provincial and federal politics, where sometimes a party has to hold on to a party position despite the fact that circumstances may warrant taking a different approach because they've got a party position. Whereas municipal politics, like you say, if you're willing to listen, you're going to make the best decision at the time. Is that a fair comment, do you think? Is that what you're trying to get at?
Absolutely, I believe that's a fair comment. And in addition to that, you also, I feel you also have to be willing to, based on new information that comes out as time goes on, you have to be flexible enough to say, if you genuinely believe, to say, well, my current view on such and such an issue was not necessarily correct, and you have to be willing to change that and not be afraid to go with new information.
It's a tough thing for some people to do.
Can be.
Yeah, to admit that and it's not to admit that they were wrong. I've always said every decision I've made in my life has been the correct one at the time. It may not have turned out to be correct when other information comes up, but it was the correct one at the time, based on the knowledge you had. What do you see are some of the major issues facing the city as we're going forward that council's going to have to deal with? Like, there's a whole menu of them. We could start from potholes to transit to everything, but in terms of what it was that, I guess, motivated you to step forward and register, what are some of the major things that you think we really have to get a handle on over the next little while?
Well, of course, one issue that always comes up in every municipal campaign is road construction.
Right.
A lot of people are unhappy with the state of the current roads, with, like you said, with the potholes and whatnot. And another thing that I've been hearing a lot over the course of my campaign, which is still pretty young at this point, is not only the state of the roads itself, but the length of time it takes for those roads to get repaired. It can take months on end. So that's a big one I've been hearing a lot of. And the other, to be honest with you, the other major one is accountability and honesty. Kind of what we were just discussing. Kind of be able to work with everybody on council and just put faith in have the voters' faith, knowing that you're going to stick to your word and represent them to the best of your ability.
Now, how do we convince people that we're gonna do that as candidates? How does a candidate convince people to trust me and that I'm going to be accountable?
Well, it just takes time. You answer, if they have any questions, if they email your campaign office, or if they ask you a question on Facebook or on your Twitter accounts or whatever social media you have, or by phone, if you have to get back to them in a timely manner, first of all. If you get back to them within a day or so, they can really look and say, well, this person is committed to getting back and answering my questions. I think I can vote for him or her.
Okay.
So that's a big thing for me.
Okay. Because in terms of accountability and honesty and integrity, quite often people have to see you in action in order to see how you can, it's one thing to say that you can skate, it's another thing to get out on the ice and actually show you can skate.
Yes, exactly.
So how does a new candidate, how does let's say a younger candidate that really doesn't have a lot of experience that people can draw on, or people can look to, I guess engage the public in such a way that they're going to trust that this looks as if it's a person that will be accountable and will be honest and have this kind of integrity, because most often people who are running for positions in politics, they've got a background, they've got they're a public figure that already have had a track record. Now sometimes that track record isn't helpful at all in running, because it means that the longer you've been around, the more people can point to some of your faults. Whereas a younger person may not have the kind of public track record where you can actually say, well, this is what I've done. You're still at that, no, I can do it, this. How is that gonna play into the campaign, or do you see it playing into the campaign? Because you're getting around, you're talking to people, you're probably hearing a lot of people that are totally dissatisfied with the status quo and want change. And then there's other people that say they want change, but they're afraid of putting someone that unknown into a position. That it's almost like better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Yes.
How do we get through that? Because people are starting to disengage from politics. You given any thought to that?
Absolutely. Well, you hit the nail right on the head. I think like you said, people are starting to disengage from politics at all levels, federal, provincial, and municipal.
Right.
You see consistently the voter turnout dropping because people just don't see as political figures as being able to keep their word.
Right.
And I think especially for a first-time candidate such as myself, it's absolutely a long haul. It's a struggle to make people trust you, because you haven't been out. People don't know who you are. So I think it's important in addition, whereas someone that has been a city councillor or a federal MP or a provincial MPP for so many years, they kind of the voters already know what they stand for. And already know what their name and everything like that, so it's a little, I don't wanna say easier, but they more establish themselves better.
Right.
Whereas, for someone like me who's just running, it's important to get the word out as to who you are and where you stand on the issues. Whereas for an established politician, you don't need to necessarily introduce yourself as a person to them, but they already know you, so just get out the issues for seasoned politicians.
Do you find that that is preventing a lot of younger people from putting their name in to run for positions like this? This idea that they're not known in the community, and the people that do know them don't necessarily go out to vote? Like, is it a barrier? We want younger people to get involved in politics, but the reality is that for a person in their 20s that really hasn't established a public image, you're running up against some people that do have a public image, and you've got to get your name out there, and generally you don't have the finances that some of the more established people have. I mean, it's a tough road for anybody, but for a person who is just starting out, it's got to be even tougher. Like, is that, you've obviously overcome the challenge, but you've got a different perspective because you're looking at this as a lifelong career. You want to be involved in politics and leadership.
Correct.
But the people that you know in your own age category, how many of them would want to do what you're doing right now? Yeah, we only have an hour, so...
Absolutely. To be quite honest with you, I have quite a few friends who don't necessarily want to get involved directly in election campaigns like be candidates, but they do want to be more involved in their country, province, and community in some sort of way.
Okay.
Whether it's attend CAN meetings or help out on my campaign. I have a wealth of youth members on my campaign team that are just so hardworking. I'm so thankful for them.
Good.
They're the youth are the backbone of society,
Okay.
and a lot of my close personal friends do care about their community and want to make a change.
That's good to know, because I think the whole challenge of trying to provide services for young people in the community, young meaning anybody under the age of 30, in order to encourage them to stay or to come back to Sudbury, to kind of reduce this out-migration of our young talent, I think that's got to be an important issue for council over the next 4, 10, 15 years. Any ideas on how you can work with city council to make the place a little bit more friendly to youth? Have you got any thoughts on that, or is that part of your platform?
It is actually one of the planks in my platform, if you will, is to create a youth council.
Okay, explain a little bit more what that is.
Well, basically what the youth council is, it'll be set up by youth and for youth in Ward 12 and across the community of Greater Sudbury,
Okay.
for them to have a direct voice as to what they want
Okay.
in the community. If they want more recreational facilities, whatever they want, they can take charge of what they feel the ward and the city needs.
So we're looking at this being an advisory committee, or are we looking at getting them a little bit more directly involved?
Getting them directly involved, yes.
Okay. Any
In the decision-making process.
in the decision making? Okay.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Any ideas on how that could happen? Besides just
Well-
forming it, because we do have a council that has to make the decisions to begin with.
Absolutely. Well, once this youth council is created, you can set up meetings where youth can go and have their voices heard.
Okay, so almost like a can for youth?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
That works. Transit. Transit is another big issue. Any thoughts on that?
Just
Why not?
one thing I've been hearing a lot on the campaign trail, if you will, in regards to transit. The only real issue I've heard personally on that is the Sunday,
Sunday, okay.
the Sunday bus schedule.
What are you hearing?
That it's not frequent enough. One every hour isn't sufficient. They should be more. I haven't been given concrete ideas as to how often they think it should be, but they feel it should be more than once every hour.
Okay. The transit for special needs, I constantly hear that the service level is not totally sufficient for that. Is that an area that you're trying to focus on too? Because everybody else that's come in has basically talked about this whole issue. It's not just public transit, it's the handicap transit and the providing a better level of service for people to get around.
Yes.
It's difficult to schedule
Mhm.
trips and stuff like that.
Well, as a disabled person myself, as much as I don't like that
Well,
term, I prefer the word diffabled, differently abled.
differently, yeah, 'cause I mean, we're all disabled in
Correct, in
some way.
some sort of way, exactly. I use handy transit myself. I think it's fantastic
Okay.
for what it is. Of course, nothing's perfect. I mean,
But you're satisfied with it?
overall, I'm very satisfied with it. Of course, it has its problems, but everything does.
Right.
So I'm very happy with it.
Okay, well, that's interesting to hear, because a lot of the people that voice opinions about increasing the service for handy transit are people who wouldn't use it. So you're saying that it is workable, that it's, that they're doing a fairly good job?
Absolutely, they're doing a fantastic job. I know quite a few of the drivers, most of the drivers, and I also know the dispatchers. They're wonderful people. They always do their best to accommodate as best as they can, and it's just a wonderful service.
Good, that's good to hear. So, but like you say, as in all areas, there's room for improvement.
Absolutely.
So it's a matter of, do we have the budget, do we, can we put, our heads together and find more efficient ways of using what we've got? So we never wanna stop doing that, regardless of what kind of transit it is. Speaking of the budget, I mean, I guess we can't talk about municipal politics without talking about the budget and taxes. What have you been hearing about taxes? And the desire for people to see them rise? Not much, eh?
No, I haven't heard a lot about taxes, to be quite honest with you.
Really? No. Okay.
Yet anyways, like I said,
Yeah.
this is still quite young, my campaign, with me just barely finishing school or whatnot. I'm a second year political science
Okay.
student here at Laurentian University. Just finished my second year,
Okay.
going into my third, but
What's the philosophy on municipal politics and political science? Did you discuss the municipal level of politics much at the university level?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I'm going to be in the near future, either this year or next year, taking a direct course dealing specifically with Canadian municipal politics
Okay.
within the next year or two.
'Cause I imagine there's a lot of overlap between the philosophies in terms of meeting the needs of people and representing the wishes of all people in your constituent, not just the people who voted for you, and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be prepared. If elected, you have to be prepared to be willing to represent your supporters and those that decided to take their vote
Right.
elsewhere. You can't discriminate by the two.
There's a lot of discussion too right now about the fact that a lot of people in city council, or a lot of people observing city council don't get the impression that the councilors are working together. That they seem to be working kind of on their own little islands.
In isolation.
Yeah. Any thoughts or feelings on that you want the listeners to know about? Like, do you have any ideas on how to improve that?
Well, like I said, you need to be able to work with everybody on the council, including the mayor, regardless of whether their political thought. And yes, you're going to disagree at times, Not only do I think it's acceptable to disagree at times, I think it's a good thing to disagree at times. It's healthy. That's what democracy is all about. Putting your ideas out there and getting results and working together. You need to be able to work with everyone.
So why are there so many people that don't think that the existing council is doing that? Like, what is it that people are seeing?
Well, they just don't think that the current councillors and the mayor have been able to see eye to eye on the issues, and therefore, because they don't see eye to eye, they kind of, like I said, work in isolation on their viewpoints, as opposed to saying, look, we disagree, but that doesn't matter. We should be able to work together anyways on solutions where we can mutually agree that is best and move this city forward.
Okay, and I guess when we take a look at this whole idea of moving the city forward, there's been a lot of talk about trying to get the council to establish a vision, a long-term vision for the city. When you've got youth getting engaged in the community and you're looking at youth councils, can you give us an idea of what a young person's long-term vision of their ideal community would be? Which is obviously what we'd like to see Sudbury become.
Yes.
So what is your vision?
My vision for the community, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
My vision for the community is one where we revitalize, first of all, we revitalize the amazing downtown area we already have.
Okay.
We need a great downtown area in order for the city itself to thrive. We just need more people willing to work together, not just for themselves, but for the greater good of everybody. That's what I see Sudbury being, somewhere where we all can get along, just move the city forward for the benefit of the whole.
What about art centers and cultural, like recreational centers and park development and industrial park development? Have you got any thoughts on those? Because those seem to be big challenges that are going to be at the table in the next little while.
Recreation, arts, and culture is something that is very, very important, especially to a city like Greater Sudbury, simply because I've heard that there's not a lot of people have told me that they want more to do, recreation-wise, as far as parks, for them and their children. So I think we need to develop more.
Okay, so there are a lot of neighborhood playgrounds in the Ward 12 area, I imagine, just like
Correct,
any other.
yes.
When you get into talking about these developments in the areas like recreation and culture, it all comes down to money.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas on how our city would be able to afford some of these places? Or have you looked into that yet?
I haven't been able to. I haven't
Okay.
done that.
Because it seems as if there's a lot of talk about public-private partnerships. There's a lot of talk about trying to find additional sources of revenue to build multi-use complexes, and at the end of the day, we can have these visions, but if we don't have the money
Mm-hmm.
and people don't want to pay any more taxes, then we have to find a way of addressing this in a way that's going to accomplish what we want without breaking the bank.
Without going too far in spending.
Yeah. And I don't think we're going to find too many people who don't want to see these nice structures developed in Sudbury. The problem is that city councilors have to address the cost factor.
Yes, exactly. They kind of have to balance the needs and wants of the constituents of their various wards and the city itself with the cost that's behind.
And you know, you're coming from a youth perspective, which means that you've got an inside track on what the younger people are actually willing to tell you and talk to you about. And when we take a look at the more experienced perspective, the baby boomers, for example, their needs in terms of recreation and culture are seem to be totally different than the needs of the younger people in terms of wanting things to do, where people in their 60s and 70s would want nice walking trails to go on, whereas the younger people are gonna want things that are a little bit more active and participatory,
Correct.
like arenas and stuff.
Mhm.
How do we deal with those conflicting demographics when we're sitting at council table? And you know, how would you go about trying to satisfy the needs of both ends of the spectrum?
To be honest, I'm not even 100% sure that they are conflicting.
Perfect.
To be quite honest with you, I think.
What do you mean with that?
Well, I mean, of course, depending on your age group, of course you're going to want different things. But essentially, from what I hear, anyways, I know a lot of people, youth that like elderly people would love more walking trails.
Good point.
Absolutely, they instead they don't necessarily need an active basketball court, for example. I mean, they would use it absolutely. They love playing basketball and other sporty, if you will, facilities
Okay.
like that. But they also don't necessarily conflict with the wants of the older
Oh, that's interesting.
people.
I mean, and again, there's the kind of perspective that I think we need on city council, and whether it's with younger councillors or whether it's with the youth council, providing that kind of feedback. I think the perception is that you've got two different age groups, they've got two different sets of needs. Well, what you're basically saying is you don't really feel that there's as big a conflict as people think.
No, I mean, of course there are differing
Yeah,
priorities depending on the age group, but I don't think it's as large as.
good. So it's not a matter of we have to select one over the other.
No, not at all.
So cross-country ski trails would be just as important a priority with young people as it would be with older people, and downhill skiing is something you may not find a person my age doing, but our priorities can be there mainly because a lot of the older adult priorities are things that would encourage their younger children and grandchildren to stick around Sudbury as well.
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. I think that's where it starts to merge, where you're starting to look at this long-term vision for your community. So that's good. That's good to hear. The senior citizen, the senior needs, the needs of seniors and elderly, and in particular in housing, is always coming to the table when we're talking about what the next council is going to have to do. Finding affordable housing for our seniors, for people that are on, low incomes. What do we, have you done any thinking on that, or how are you going to approach those kinds of challenges?
Not as of yet, but I do believe that seniors have paid their, at all levels, federal, municipal, and provincial, they've contributed so much and have played such a big role in their communities, and that made this city, province, and country as great as it is today. So I feel that we should be putting more into them for affordable housing, personal care, and all sorts of.
Okay. Any ideas on how we can do that? And again, not break the bank still? Or not interfere with the private sector? Because there does seem to be a real lack of, units, apartment units and condos and low rent housing. There's a lack of this kind of development in the city, mainly because it's not profitable for developers.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we, do you have any ideas on how we can encourage the private sector developers to get involved in these kinds of things? Development charges have been in the news lately.
I think the bottom line is we have to convince everybody that what is good for the seniors is essentially good for everybody in the economy. Keep housing costs low. That eventually it'll come back into the economy, and it'll therefore renew or revitalize the economy.
Okay.
What is good for the citizens is good for the whole.
Okay. Very true, and we're talking about a community of communities around the City of Greater Sudbury, and they all have many unique needs and unique demographics and different types of housing. The valley is, low density, spread out. When you start to get more toward the center of the city, you've got more high density apartment units and buildings. So sitting as a group of councillors around the table, and we have to take into consideration the priorities of everybody with transit and roads and recreation. There are going to be differences. So what I'm hearing from you is that there is a way of focusing on the commonalities between the demographics and between all of the outlying communities, so that as council we can make sure that those common interests are at an acceptable standard.
That is correct.
And then move forward.
Correct. That's
So,
exactly what I'm saying.
I'm basically hearing that.
Yes.
The campaign is early. Any ideas on how you expect or how you're hoping to get out to spread your message to the general public?
Well, I've already had a lot of my personal friends and my campaign team around me offer to help me get out to reach out to voters to get my message across. So I plan on doing a lot of door-to-door canvassing, potentially a telephone call, and whatever I can do to get my message across.
Okay, you're using social media a lot.
I am. I have a Facebook page. You can check that out at www.facebook.com. McCarthy/4. That's the number 4.
So if they put Robert McCarthy in Facebook, or what would they put on their search?
Robert McCarthy for Greater Sudbury Council.
And so that
Ward
should
12.
that should get them to your page.
Correct. Yes, it will.
Okay, it's like a Google search.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I also am on Twitter.
Okay.
My Twitter handle is @VoteMcCarthy12, all lowercase.
Okay.
And I also have a campaign email address that I set up, which again is all lowercase. It's McCarthy12campaign@gmail.com.
Okay. And just have we missed any issues that you want to address or you want people to be thinking about in terms of moving forward before we wrap things up in about 5 minutes? Are there any things that you want to say to the listeners right now that we haven't covered yet? So I always want to make sure that I don't miss anything that a person
Absolutely.
wanted to say. We've got 40 minutes and it seems like a long time until you're actually here, and it just runs right through.
Absolutely.
Anything that you want to mention?
Absolutely, there is actually. The
Okay.
main thing for me, the one that I'm going to basically run on is ensuring that the Ontario Ombudsman is reinstated,
Okay,
to
good.
have to have their powers back in council to oversee ethics and accountability around the table.
Okay, you feel that's important?
Absolutely, it definitely is important for that
Okay.
oversight.
Any reasons why you feel it's important?
Just for the citizens, to
Okay.
give them assurance that they're being properly represented by the 13
Good.
people on city council.
Good. That's good. It's definitely a high priority with most people.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
For the accountability. I guess the final point is more or less to wrap up. And we talked about this before we came on the show, and I like your perspective. Do you feel that it's a battle between you and the other people running on Ward 12?
You mean the competitors?
Yeah.
The people also running?
Yeah.
Not at all. I don't consider myself running against anybody. I am running for the constituents of Ward 12. I think that's a more positive,
Good.
running for someone as opposed to against something.
Good, and I know we talked about this before we came on air, and it was nice to hear that you know, there are other people who realize that this election campaign should not be one of showing the voters who the least favorable choice is, but it should be a matter of hearing what everybody stands for, getting to know the people who are running, and then being able to select the person they feel is the best person to move forward for the next 4 years. Not necessarily feeling that they're selecting the least of the worst, but the person who is more in tune with what they feel they are looking for.
Correct. It's important to not vote for the lesser of two evils, as the old saying goes, but it's important to vote for a candidate, again, whether that's mayor, city council, or at all levels of government, to vote for someone that not only necessarily that you agree with as far as policy is concerned, but also someone that inspires you
Did you have confidence?
to vote. Exactly, that you have confidence in it at a personal level as well.
Yeah. And really, you know.
And if I may add to that, I'm sorry.
No.
If I may add to that, I would like, at the end of the day, whoever whoever the mayor and city councilors become, voters made that choice. It's a democracy. It's a wonderful thing. Voters are never wrong.
That's a good perspective as well. No, that's good. I'm glad. I know that between now and October, we'll get you into the studio at least one or two more times as we talk, as more specific issues come up and we start to get into more details. This introductory session is good because it gives people a chance to get to know the candidates. And as I was saying, if you happen to miss any of the live broadcasts today, if you go to thelearningclinic.ca, you will be able to find a videotape recording of the show and be able to listen to it as you wish. And I know that all of the city councilors, all the candidates are being invited to come in and do the same thing. So my goal from doing this is that sometime in August, this almost turns into like a meet the candidates night online, where you can actually go and listen to each of the candidates, go through their issues and get to know the people who are running. So like you say, you're voting for.
Correct,
somebody,
exactly.
not against something.
Yes.
Robert McCarthy, thank you for spending some time.
Thank you very much. If I may say one more thing very
Absolutely.
quickly. Thank you very much. I would just like to thank my entire campaign team for all the work they have done so far. With that, this wouldn't be possible without any of you, in particular my campaign manager, Chrissy Lynn Trudell.
Great. It's always, you always got to remember the people behind it.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Just want to remind people that you're listening to Learning Clinic on CKLU 96.7 FM. I will be back very shortly. I want to remind everyone as well that at 2 o'clock we have Franz Jelinas, who is going to be the candidate for the Ontario NDP party in Nickelbill. Franz will be in here at 2 o'clock. And we will have another segment on at 1 o'clock. I'm just trying to finalize and get things arranged for that 1 o'clock show. So again, at 2 o'clock for sure, Franz Jelinas will be in here meeting with me, and we'll be talking for a good 40 minutes or 45 minutes about the NDP platform in Nickelbill. This is the Learning Clinic. I'm your host, Bob Kirwan, and stay tuned to CKLU.